The thing about most watch...
I said
No.
francs. Is it francs?
Not again.
If in French, it's francs.
Francs? Swiss franc?
In French, the Swiss franc.
Swiss franc.
Franc. The Swiss franc. The Swiss franc.
Hey, Hodinkee. What's the most practical way to store and protect my collection at home? I don't have anything that needs to be on 24-hour surveillance, but I do have some very precious pieces that I'd hate to disappear if my house was ever burgled.
Probably the best option for long-term storage is actually your freezer, but I would just make sure that you use alternating layers of tin foil and plastic wrap in order to prevent your watches from getting freezer burn. It's actually a joke. Maybe not a very funny one, but just please don't do that. I mean, the serious answer is a watch safe. The problem with most safes is that they don't actually keep anything safe. Their biggest function is to actually tell a burglar where the valuables are. You would literally be better off in most cases putting a little note inside the safe that says, "Ha ha, the joke's on you," so that when they finally do crack the safe, that's what they see. A safe that is light enough to be lifted can be lifted and moved out of your house, so that's no good. A safe that is heavy enough to not be moved is pretty heavy, and ideally, should be physically connected to the floor. The purpose of a safe is to make it impractical for a person to attempt to defeat the safe. And the reality is that every single safe can eventually be defeated, but it is the job of the safe manufacturer to make it take an unreasonable amount of time or require an unreasonable amount of equipment to get into the darn thing. And one of my favorite safe makers for this reason is actually Brown Safe. They're a contractor for the United States government, which is not actually always a recommendation. But in this case, it means that they are pretty good at making sure that their safes are really, really, really hard to get into, and they make, I think, some of the best watch safes in the business. Other than that, your best bet is probably just making sure that they're hidden away where a thief wouldn't look for them. But in terms of really keeping things secure, I think a good solid watch safe, which is going to be expensive, is your best bet. If your collection's actually a valuable one, a really solid watch safe is the way to go.
Hey, Hodinkee, I'm looking for a watch to wear while I play tennis or golf. Obviously, I cannot afford a Richard Mille, and a G-Shock is too big for me. Can you suggest a mechanical option for under 3,000 francs, which has a stellar shock resistance?
The problem with most mechanical watches in the scenario that you've kind of framed is that they pretty much all have the same shock protection system, and they all pretty much work the same way and offer pretty similar levels of resistance to shock. There are a couple of things that can go wrong with a watch if you give it too hard a knock. And not all of them involve actual breaking of parts. If the balance is displaced enough, the balance spring can get kind of twisted up, and that can stop the watch as well. The really catastrophic failure that you're worried about is bending or breaking the balance pivots, which are made as fine as possible in order to reduce the amount of friction at the balance. And without a shock protection system, I mean, a pocket watch, a hefty pocket watch with a good sized balance in it, but no shock protection, you drop it 6 inches onto a hardwood table, and you're probably going to get broken or bent balance pivots. What I would suggest looking at, I mean, G-Shock is a great choice. A lot of them are very big, but I would actually suggest looking at some of the baby Gs, which are quite light, very wearable, do not necessarily have to be purchased in a shade of pink or powder blue. And I have actually heard, I don't know if this is true, but I've actually heard that a lot of special operations folks actually prefer the Baby G because it's lighter and easier to wear. And if it's good enough for a bunch of snake eaters, it's good enough for me.
Hey, Hodinkee, I've seen 1/SA on a lot of German watches. What does that mean?
That's a really great question. It's one of those things that you can see over and over and over again before you start wondering what it is. So it's not actually the numeral 1/SA. It's actually a capital letter I/SA. It's a statement of place of origin. So, like seeing an olive oil say that it's like made in Italy. I think it actually stands for Glashütte in Sachsen. So Glashütte, the town of Glashütte in Saxony, which is a state, part of the German nation. And there are a surprisingly large number of companies which make watches in and around the Glashütte area. Of course, Glashütte Original. There's A. Lange und Söhne. I think I got the pronunciation right on both of those. There's Tutima and Moritz Grossman, of course. So what it's telling you, basically, is that your watch was made in this kind of idiosyncratic, interesting little town. And I haven't been there in a few years. The population is around 7,000 people, and I think 6,999 of them probably work in the watch industry. And the other one works in the post office.
Hey Hodinkee, rainbow watches. There have been a few watches with rainbow-themed dials, from G-Shocks with aftermarket painted dials to gem-set Rolex watches. Which rainbow watch is your favorite?
Oh, sorry. I was just thinking about Judy Garland. Unforgettable. Anyway, rainbow watches, I feel a little bit bad about this because it's a great question. I'm personally not a huge fan of rainbow watches, actually. I mean, I think some of the rainbow G-Shocks, like, the Borneo Toad, which we wrote about, I think it was last year. Super nice watch, really, really interesting, incredibly colorful, I guess arguably a rainbow watch. And I love all of the rainbow G-Shocks from a design standpoint. You know, the MRG ones are pretty fantastic. I just don't know that I would wear one on a daily basis. They feel like special occasion watches, and I'm not sure that I go to the kind of special occasions at which you would wear a rainbow G-Shock. If I were going to get a rainbow watch and price were no object, I think I would do a rose gold rainbow Daytona. You know, I mean, I've had a chance to examine a few up close. I don't own one, obviously. And, you know, the fit and finish is absolutely fantastic. Rolex is as careful with gem selection and gem setting as they are with everything else. The color matching on the stones is really incredible. Horological gem setting is actually really, really difficult to do. And a gradient gem setting like that is, you know, up to 50% of a diamond under ordinary circumstances is removed when it's being cut. But with colored stones that have to be set next to each other in a gradient setting, you can end up sacrificing 90% of a gem quality stone in order to get a good color match, which is part of the reason these things are so expensive. I don't think that I would do a rainbow Daytona with a full gem set bracelet, though. I mean, let's not get ostentatious. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been another show, fun for me and I hope enjoyable for you. We found out that I have a sense of restraint even when it comes to rainbow Daytonas. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.